The real journey of a MedTech company, from startup to global powerhouse. Moderated by James Somauroo, SOMX. With Dr. Simon J. Sonntag, Virtonomy, and Jasmin Hounsell, CEO, Evolvene Limited UK.
Hello, everybody. It's on. So this panel is about the real journey of a MedTech company from startup to global powerhouse. And with me, I've got Simon Sonntag, CEO and co-founder of Virtonomy, and Jasmin Hounsell, CEO of Evolvene Limited. So Simon's going to tell us his early stage journey so far. Jasmin's going to talk about her experience scaling into the US. I'm James. I need some water by the feel of things. I'm a co-founder and CEO of SOMX. I present the Health Tech podcast, and I've got the Health Tech Pigeon newsletter as well. So Simon and Jasmin, welcome. Would you like to do some quick introductions, then we can get into it?
Great, thank you. Is this on? Yeah.
It is.
So I'm Jasmin. I'm CEO and founder of Evolvene. We're a marketing agency that helps startups in MedTech go from a little company, an idea, to hopefully a global powerhouse. Prior to that, I was the head of marketing at one of the UK's fastest growing MedTech companies. And with them, I took multiple medical devices to the US and Asia, and also started a few consortiums in the UK that helped smaller companies build up and get market adoption in the UK. But yeah, that's me.
Yeah, and I'm Simon, CEO and co-founder of Virtonomy. So at Virtonomy, we have developed the first web-based software as a service solution to be used by medical device developers to use virtual patients and computer simulations to perform virtual clinical trials. So instead of using animals and also others like human trials, really use then the computer simulations in that. And yeah, I'm working in this field already since 10 years. Also did my PhD in the field of computer-aided medical engineering and also part of different medical societies and also policy making to really foster the adoption of in silico medicine. So this is one thing that I really want to do also in my leisure time. And yeah, so we have founded Virtonomy in 2019 together with 𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐿. And beginning of the year, we closed our seed financing round, 7-digit amount, and 4 institutional investors. Since then, have grown our team to over 15 employees, and a lot has happened since then. So.
It's funny, isn't it, how seed rounds just get bigger and bigger. 7-digit seeds, nice. Cool, so this is obviously the real journey, so we need to get a bit real, right? So we're going to talk about some of the challenges, but I guess firstly, Simon, from your early stage view, it'd be interesting to know how you came up with the idea, and then perhaps to roll into some early challenges that you had, you know, finding co-founders, initial hiring, fundraising, right? What were those early... when was the early idea coming to you, and tell me about the challenges early on?
Yeah, the idea really started in my PhD time. So this is something already 8-9 years ago that I was really working on this topic and using computer simulations at that time still for more the development purpose of medical devices. But then over the time, I've seen really the potential to also use this for regulatory purposes and to really has the potential to change the field in this domain. And as I have a great pleasure in this, good knowledge in that, I really wanted to pursue this and start my own journey on that. And yeah, then one of the tasks was to find a co-founder. This was rather luck as I was looking in my network, and then one person in my network knew someone else, and this person knew someone else that was perfectly matching. And then so we got in contact and we worked for a while, and then I've seen, yeah, we have really complementary skills and also really the thrive forward, because it's very important really there that also you have the right mindset. And as we didn't know each other, we really then also set up a founders agreement with what is when someone is leaving, what is when someone is dying, for example, what happens with the shares. So stuff you don't want to talk about, but it's important because you also don't want it what should happen, but it's important to have it really defined at the beginning.
It is. It's funny you mentioned luck, and I think a lot of people at the early stage, you know, we heard earlier, you know, 90-odd% of startups will fail. I think you can create your own luck, right? It sounds like you weren't just passively waiting for someone to come across your desk. You were out there getting people to introduce you, and you got to put yourself in the right place at the right time.
Right, and this is super important. Networking, going out, being at events like this today, meeting people, talking there openly about your ideas and not be hesitant. I think this is super important, right?
And the key thing for many, many early stage companies is getting the capital to actually execute on their idea. So talk to me about that fundraise. How did you go about it? How did you approach that as a key challenge?
Right, it was crazy, our fundraising, really. So, yeah, we started in 2020, beginning of 2020, and it was starting well. We had good appointments and also then some trips to the US planned, and then Corona came. So imagine you start your fundraising, and then one of 100 years pandemic is suddenly hitting in. Something you're not predicting. So everything was canceled, we couldn't fly there, and then also all the VCs and business angels said they rather want to secure their portfolio instead of investing in something new. So this was really tough, but then mid of last year, then it was again coming up. So we got in contact with new VCs, with a business angel, and we set up a group of five investors, and we defined everything. We came up then with a final agreement, but we still wanted to tweak a bit about the valuation, LP, and some other constraints. So we set up a video call with all investors included, us from the management, and it went quite well. But then suddenly the business angel, there were two people raiding his office with a gun in the hand, putting the gun against his head, pulling him down and pulling him out of the room. And then one guy with the gun in the hand was staring at us through the computer, and we were in the video screen scared like hell because we thought it's a robbery, that our business angel is getting robbed or whatever. So, and we didn't know what happened. So I called the police, and then they were calling me back, and then it turned out it was the special unit of the police department, and that raided his office. And then half an hour later, the customs department was coming to my office and interrogating me, how we know this person, what is our business relation. And yeah, it turned out that this guy was doing some illegal stuff with pharma products and distribution without receipt. And
it's quite a unique fundraising challenge, that, isn't it?
So we were thinking about everything that could happen in this meeting. So we really made a plan of everything, what questions can come up with, but we did not expect that.
Incredible. I mean, that must teach you to be ready for anything, I suppose, in the early stage fundraising.
Right,
journey.
and also don't open the champagne before the money is on the bank account.
Absolutely.
Everything can happen.
Absolutely.
We also closed, my previous company also closed a funding round around the same time. Very uneventful in comparison, but we did have the day that the UK locked down. I was based in America, in Texas at the time. So it's kind of 3 o'clock in the morning for me, and we were due to have this big media roundtable to educate the media on our product, ready to announce our Series B. And
a great strategy, by the way, to fundraise.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely recommend educating the media before you do anything, telling them what you're doing. But yeah, literally 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, I see on the news that the UK is locking down, and our office immediately locked down. Okay, right, we can't get anyone anywhere, so we had to I think we had 10 of the big media outlets in the UK on trains going to this one place, and we had to send everyone home. We had to do everything via Zoom, and at the time, all of the people in the UK were like, we've never done anything with the media via Zoom. How are you possibly going to do this? I'm like, it's fine, it'll work, let's go for it. And it did, and we got a lot of coverage, but not quite as eventful as, there was no guns involved in mine.
Better it's not.
Yeah.
So Jasmin, obviously we're talking about becoming a global powerhouse, right? You're obviously part of one of the UK's fastest growing companies, helping them scale into the US. Talk about that journey for me, about what it required and perhaps how easy or difficult it was.
Yeah, definitely. So I think the first thing we kind of realized is, even though you're an expert in your field, we knew the UK really well, we were an Oxford spin-out, you don't know what you don't know, and you can't underestimate the differences in a new market, especially in a market that speaks maybe the same language or something. You think maybe the barriers to entry are going to be lower, but they're not. Even buying bedding in America was different. Even that gave me a little bit of a mental breakdown. But for taking a company over there, I think you think about what you need to do. You think about kind of the outputs of what you're going to need to do. What marketing strategy should I have? Who should I be engaging with? But actually, what you need to do is think about, how do I get the information to make those decisions? So we were looking more at the inputs and having high quality feedback from the market. And one of the talks earlier went into this really well, that you really need that market research. And you can do that from a desk, from far away, or you can hire really experienced people that have done it before, but that's expensive. Desk research takes a long time. So actually, one of the things we did almost straight away when we got the product into America was literally go out and knock on doctors' doors. For like a couple of weeks, we would go down around different cities, a couple of weeks each city, talking to them and seeing, okay, what does your day look like? You know, how many different things are you logging into? Is my product a pain for you, or is it actually helping you? Is it giving you an extra login that you really don't want? Do you understand the metrics that it's reporting? Do you understand the wording, the terminology that we're using? You know, we had one instance where actually the reporting across the UK and the US is different. One's milligrams per gram and the other one's micromilligrams per gram or something. So we had doctors in the UK going, oh my God, this report is terrible, this patient should be dead. In the US, they're going, no, that's within normal range, it's fine. So really understanding whether they're going to get your product, whether they're going to be able to use it.
It's almost like starting again, isn't it? And I think it requires a bit of humility from that respect. I know there's a few companies that we're supporting through SOMX that are scaling into the US now. And all of the initial communication strategy, the marketing strategy, everything that was done initially for the UK, all those value propositions, all those messages, it pretty much just goes out the window to think of a new market. Simon, how do you think about going to another geography? I mean, are you considering this? Is this part of your thinking and strategy at the minute?
Yeah, definitely. So we are headquartered in Munich, in Germany, but the US market is for us is super important because it's the biggest MedTech industry in the world. And so we definitely want to go there. And one of our investors is already from the US. That, of course, helps a bit. Yeah. So because it's not that easy to directly find investors, especially when you're still in Europe. And so I think the first step is to create an entity and then create some presence there. But this is definitely something we want to do, but where we also need support and experience in this.
Yeah, I think that's getting support from different areas that actually have, so say you're like agencies or you're hiring a team, getting people that have that experience there is really difficult because you need to have people that have the local knowledge and the industry knowledge. And that's kind of why we set up our business, because we were like, okay, we can help people do this. And I think, to your point, it's not just about the product market fit. That is very important, but it's also the way you market to someone or the way you sell to someone in a different country is so different. America is completely different to Europe, how they talk, how they want to be sold to. And also, another thing we learned, which was a kind of a challenge for us, was we had this idea of what we were going to do for all of our products. We had, these are the conferences we were going to do, these are the KOLs we're going to engage with. And actually, they were very different stakeholders than the community doctors that were actually going to be using the product. So we realized that they needed kind of a lot different channels. So actually, podcasts and webinars were much better because they didn't have a lot of time to go to the big academic conferences that the KOLs were at. And we realized that they weren't up on all the literature, so actually you need to give them summaries of all your clinical evidence rather than assuming that they've seen your talk at a conference. So that was another big difference.
What do you see from the work that you do, obviously with companies doing this, what do you see as the thing that companies get wrong the most? What's the one thing that you would tell them not to do?
I think don't assume that you can do it alone or that you can do it from afar. And also, I think the main thing that companies, in my opinion, and I'm biased because I'm a marketer by trade, but is not getting their marketers involved early enough. And I mean kind of pre-submission for regulatory products. Like getting your marketers and the people that talk to your customers and understand their pain points, getting them involved in the regulatory process so that you've got the right marketing claims, getting them involved in the product development so that it fits and the customer can use it. That is something that companies that do it right, they are empowering, and we're working with some companies that are doing this now, and it's amazing to watch. They are empowering their marketing team to actually make kind of strategic decisions early on, rather than waiting until they're ready for marketing.
Simon, what are your goals or challenges that you've got coming ahead? You know, talking about keeping it real, right? What are the challenges that you've got?
Yeah, so when you close the fundraising round, so you get the money on the bank account, you have to spend it, right?
Yeah.
And this is not that easy.
Not as fun as it sounds,
so,
no.
Yeah, right.
Not when it's from a company account.
Especially hiring. Hiring is super challenge. And I think, or I have the feeling it gets more and more challenging. We were set up as a very remote company from the start on, so we are building this up very remotely. And I think that's the only way to go, because in Munich it's super difficult to find people, with Microsoft being there, Apple, Google, but also Facebook pushing in. And just Facebook has announced that they are also now completely setting up this remotely in 7 countries in Europe. So this is even then more difficult for startups, because this is one advantage of a startup that you can provide. And you cannot have the same budget and salary as big tech companies. So this is not that easy to find real good talents, and that's also in a fast time, because you have to, the time's against you. You have to spend it, you have to advance forward. So this is one of the biggest challenges we are facing since closing the round, and still are facing to find people.
Jasmin and I would probably both tell you to have a marketing strategy that increases your employer brand.
We certainly would.
But we can talk about that later, perhaps, Simon. We've got a couple of minutes left. What advice would both of you give to yourselves at the start of your journeys?
I think I would probably tell myself to go out and meet people more early on. I was working in marketing and healthcare for many years before I moved to the markets that I was kind of marketing to. And then I actually went and lived there for a couple of years. I was part of the health system myself. I received care, so I knew it as well as I knew the NHS, say, in the UK. So I think one of the big things I would give myself, or anyone starting out that's trying to commercialize or help a company commercialize, is just spend most of your time speaking to your customers. Like, they are the most important thing you should be doing. You shouldn't be sitting in like an ivory tower strategizing by yourself. You really need to go out and actually just speak to the people. It's more fun that way, but also you learn just so much faster.
Simon, to close us out.
Yeah, maybe I would say to have some kind of assistance, assistance to the CEO or something, assistance for the founders, because there's so many small stuff tasks that you have to finish with accounting every month and so on. And this is stuff that brings you away from the real important aspects, like talking to the customers, talking to others. And so this is something I think I would have changed, to really hire someone to help us in this, that we can focus on the really important things.
Awesome. Such a good practical tip. Love that. Thank you to my panelists. Big round of applause. Thanks very much.